Yo, it's your boy Meek here, and after Boruto chapter 64 released, we finally got to see Boruto's new Karma form in action, and this form has put Boruto into a higher tier of power in the franchise. And with me, I got someone new to the channel, King Bullet.
What's up?
Bullet is great at scaling when it comes to Naruto and Boruto characters. He also scales characters in other verses, so definitely go check him out. Link is in the description to his channel. So I think we can start by saying that Boruto is probably the strongest kid we've ever seen at his age. Just in his base form alone, he can contend with low Kage tier opponents like Ao and Chojoji, as long as with Otsutsuki members like Momoshiki and Urashiki. On top of that, he does have the Karma seal, which does give him an increase in speed and power to the point where he can contend with Karma members like Boro, for example. Boruto also does have the second stage of Karma, the Boroshiki form, where Momoshiki takes control over Boruto's body, which is an even bigger power boost. And when he was fighting Code in Boruto chapter 64, he accessed a new Karma form. And with this new form, Boruto has the ability to access the true essence of Karma, which is the ability to access a millennia worth of Momoshiki's combat experience. There's no name for this new form, but I think calling it True Essence Karma is pretty good. I've seen it on Twitter, so we can just call it that.
That sounds really cool. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, because I know people were calling it like Boruto Shiki or Boroshiki V2, but I think True Essence is pretty fire. When you go into the fight itself with Boruto using this new form against Code, it's implied that they're both holding back. Boruto, toward the end of the chapter, says it's time to go all out and not use cheap tricks. We've seen in this fight against Code, he does use like his regular fighting style, his Rasengans, his Shadow Clone Jutsu. He even gets off a Vanishing Rasengan. But at the end of the chapter, Kishimoto just decides to write Boruto's name in the death note, and he actually has a heart attack. Whereas with Code, Ida tells him to stop messing around. It seems like when he's fighting Boruto, it kind of implies that he's like just playing around with him, and Ida tells him to get serious or else he wouldn't be able to show off his true power. And even though both are holding back, Boruto actually gets more hits off than Code, hitting him about 3 to 4 times, whereas Code only gets off 1 hit. And there's even a point where Boruto almost hits Code with the Vanishing Rasengan, which catches him off guard.
Even like a weaker Code, right, is actually meant to be above like Delta. It's definitely implied that Boruto has got stronger than like characters like Boro and Delta. I think like it's even stated, it's at the end of like one of the volumes, that like Boro and both Code are meant to be like these opponents that are beyond like Delta, and Delta was capable of actually, you know, throwing hands with Naruto. Nobody's saying like Delta and Naruto are like the same level, but she was capable of pushing Naruto, so they're definitely like Gotes or like near that level. And the fact that like Boruto is also getting closer to that level, which does make sense since like you said he's capable of fighting Otsutsuki, it definitely propels him into like his level where he can contend with like all the threats that Naruto can kind of contend with. I'm not saying he could by himself like take Ishiki or something. He was kind of useful like in that fight. Boruto was capable of actually like pushing one of Ishiki's like attacks.
With the Code, as you mentioned, he's a very powerful character. In fact, he's considered stronger than Jigen, but he had limiters put on him to nerf his power so he wouldn't undermine Jigen's leadership of Kara. And as you said before, Code is considered someone that is stronger than Delta himself. And there's multiple statements coming from like Amato and Kawaki stating that Code, even with the limiters, is probably the strongest member behind Jigen, of course. And even in Boruto chapter 57, Kawaki does say that Code is stronger than both Boro and Delta. And this is pretty reliable since Kawaki was a spectator in the Delta fight and fought Boro as well. Also, he did grow up with these people after Jigen adopted him, so he does have a good idea on how powerful these characters are. And like you said, Delta and Boro are very powerful fighters. With the fact that Code is even stronger than this, it shows that he is very, very powerful. In fact, even in Boruto chapter 59, Amato even says that Naruto would die in a fight against Code. It would definitely not go the same way against Delta, considering that Naruto did lose the 9 tails at that point. And Code even states that he could kill Naruto and Sasuke in a 1v1 fight, but he does mention that he wants to remove the limiters first to spare any unnecessary hardships. So I definitely do think at this point Boruto is probably stronger than every Kara member, excluding like Code and Jigen. He's above Delta, he's above Boro. The fact that you have a character keeping up with Naruto in the first place, like Delta, shows you just how powerful Boruto's become. And I do want to mention that Boruto's like the king of off-guard feats. For example, against like Fuse Momoshiki, he was legit able to fold Fuse Momoshiki with 1 Vanishing Rasengan. Obviously, Momoshiki looked away when he threw it. It still hurt him in the end, as well as in the anime. He did Boruto stream and he legit folded Momoshiki again. And this is Boruto in base in like the first 50 or 60 episodes. Legit 5 to 10 episodes prior, he's out here struggling against like fodder Genin from like the Cloud Village, for example, in these preliminary rounds. But the fact that he can do this in base is crazy. And then of course when you move on to the Vessel arc, which is like 130 episodes later in the anime, 8 to 9 chapters later in the manga, when he's sparring Naruto even says, Boruto, you have gotten a lot stronger, including your Rasengan. Obviously in the anime there are multiple training arcs with him improving his Rasengan with the wind style Rasengan, the high compression Rasengan from the Kara activation arc. It definitely did show that Boruto's base alone has gotten a lot stronger. Then of course you add the Karma seal, and then you add the second stage of Karma, and then you add True Essence on top of that, accessing Momoshiki's combat experience. That is absolutely insane. And on top of of that, of course, with Borushiki, he has many off-guard feats as well. Obviously, this is Momoshiki controlling Boruto's body, but with him, he's able to legit stab Sasuke's Rinnegan and fold him with a Vanishing Rasengan to the point where Sasuke couldn't even move. I do want to say that Boruto's Vanishing Rasengan is really broken. The fact that he can just fold characters like Fuse Momoshiki off guard, that says a lot. And even against Sasuke, when he gets hit by a Vanishing Rasengan, Sasuke is legit unable to move. Since it hit his organs, that packed a lot of punch. And we know that when you get hit off guard, it's gonna hurt a lot more compared to just getting hurt when you expect it. And as his Rasengan gets stronger, so does the power of it as well. So it's even crazier because once you add the Karma Seal, it adds even more power. And this add-on power, even though the Karma Seal, there's no like specific multiplier for it, it definitely is a very big power boost. I don't want people acting like it's just nothing, because even when Boruto was sparring with Naruto, after he activated his Karma with one lightning style jutsu, he was able to take out a Naruto shadow clone. Obviously Naruto in base, he's much stronger than Boruto, but the fact that Naruto has to shield himself just to take a lightning style attack from Karma Boruto, it definitely says a lot, because obviously, as mentioned before, base Naruto is insane. He can contend with Otsutsuki's like Fuse Momoshiki, he can tank hits from him, so the fact that he has to protect himself from a lightning style attack from Karma 1 Boruto says a lot. And obviously with True Essence Karma, that's an even bigger stage on top of that. So when you add that all on top of that with the Vanishing Rasengan, that's gonna add a lot of stopping power to the point where it could even kill someone. We saw this when he was fighting Code. Code got really shook when he almost got hit by that Vanishing Rasengan. And even though it doesn't hit him, he does denote that he might have to get a little bit more serious, because that Vanishing Rasengan packs a lot of power, and the fact that this is a character that's like the second strongest member in Kara says a lot. And Boruto's Vanishing Rasengan is really powerful, as mentioned before. Even in the Boro fight, specifically in the anime, he can destroy body parts. We saw this when he did it against Boro. He literally blew up his arm with one Vanishing Rasengan alone in base form. So obviously, like I said before, when you add the Karma, you add the second stage of Karma with True Essence, that's gonna add even more power. Now I feel like with Code, with him not going all out in terms of power, we actually haven't seen him go full power with his limiters on. And we know that next Boruto chapter, Naruto, he does have stage mode. He's gonna go and try to fight Code himself. Now I feel like next chapter, we would have a better idea of how strong Code truly is with the limiters. I feel like a lot of people are going to downplay Naruto now that he lost the Nine Tails, but I think we can both can say that adult Naruto without the Nine Tails is much stronger than his teen self from the War Arc, and as well as the fact that he got even faster in Boruto. In Naruto Retsuden, which is canon by the way, Naruto came down with like a chakra illness where he couldn't even weave chakra, essentially making him a regular human, and he couldn't use Nine Tails chakra, Sage Mode, Six Pass, etc. And there was a scene where multiple photon beams were shot at him, which he dodged at like point blank range. And photons are said to move at the speed of light, so this is an insane speed for adult based Naruto. Also, this Naruto is without any chakra. We know that you can amp all your stats with weaving chakra. For example, characters like Sakura and Tsunade do this all the time. And then once you get into the War Arc when he's fighting Six Pass Madara, Naruto does dodge a Light Fang Ray in his Six Pass Sage Mode Nine Tails form. And this Light Fang Ray that Madara shot at Naruto, according to the 4th data book, it states to move also at the speed of light. So if Naruto does beat Code in the next chapter, the narrative statements told to us would kind of be incorrect, and that would make someone like Delta stronger than Code because she fought a more powerful version of Naruto.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you, because we do know like Delta was capable of fighting Naruto, right? If this happens, right, and Code ends up fighting like this Naruto, he's in base form or has Sage Mode or whatever, this Naruto does have like a weaker form, obviously, than the Naruto that fought Delta. However, this just means that Naruto got stronger. And what actually backs this up, funny enough, you talked about Naruto Retsuden. There's like another statement in Naruto Retsuden where like after Naruto gets his chakra back, right, apparently his chakra doubles. So he's obviously constantly getting stronger anyway throughout the series. Just because like he was a certain level like earlier on in the series doesn't mean he's the same level like later on. In fact, Sage Mode like Naruto is absolutely insane. Like you said, right, in base form, he's capable of swapping hands with Otsutsuki, like he used Momoshiki, and then he gets like Sage Mode. And I don't know if you agree with this, but like Sage Mode, it should be like this at least 10 times increase in power, since it's superior to like the Curse Mark II Sage Mode, and that gives you like a 10 times amp in chakra power. So Naruto is definitely getting this massive power up, right?
Due to the narrative statements and feats portrayed in the story, I think we can say that Boruto's in this god tier category at this point. I mean, if Borushiki wasn't convincing enough, I think this form of Boruto proves it at this point. And we don't really know if he's stronger than Borushiki, but he might be stronger. It's hard to say since we haven't seen him go full power. However, at the same time, this form of Boruto in this True Essence Karma form is much more optimal compared to Borushiki, due to Boruto not actually being out of chakra and Boruto having control over his body. We know with Borushiki, Momoshiki is taking control over Boruto's body, and he doesn't actually have any chakra to begin with. Whereas with Boruto, and we even see him try to absorb some of Code's banned abilities. Of course, he doesn't get to because it's a physical property matter, so he actually can absorb it, but the fact that he is willing to do it shows you that he can use it much more optimally compared to Borushiki, because we know when Borushiki absorbs chakra, Boruto's consciousness kicks in, and this is where he gets control over his body once again. So I would say at this point, this true essence karma form of Boruto is possibly even stronger. I feel like once we get more feats on it, Boruto would probably be stronger than this.
You brought up a lot of abilities he has access to when he has the karma. You gotta remember, he's also like mainly Suki at this point, right? And we know like he also has the ability to hide his presence at this point, and he's able to actually hide his presence so well that like even, you know, like a top tier sensory ninja can't even like track him like at all.
And just to add on to your point, this ability to hide your presence is so broken that not even Naruto in his 6th pass Sage mode can even sense it. We saw this in the Jigen fight when Naruto and Sasuke were fighting Jigen. There were multiple times where Jigen would just hide his presence and Naruto wouldn't be able to sense him. We know that Naruto in his 6th pass Sage mode has insane sensory capabilities to the point where he can even sense Madara's limbo clones in other dimensions. We know that all Otsutsuki's have this ability according to Ida in Boruto chapter 61. Even Kawaki can use this. That's how he escaped the village in the first place. I don't know if you play COD, but it's sort of like popping dead silence in multiplayer. No matter what, even if you have like the radar on, you're not going to be seen on the minimap. It's sort of like that when it comes to sensing. Even with Naruto in his 6th pass Sage mode, he couldn't even sense Jigen when he was using this power, hiding his presence, and this confused Naruto so many times to the point where Naruto would just get frustrated because he can't even sense him. So Boruto has the ability to neg sensory capabilities from like god tier characters like Naruto, for example.
Because a lot of people might complain and say, well, Boruto can't be really strong because he's just a kid. They don't like the new generation, and they don't like the idea that they're kind of catching up with like these god tiers, especially the characters in like Shippuden. I think what really backs this up is like this interview by Kishimoto when he talks about what his major concerns are going into Boruto from Shippuden, and he mentions this is like a massive concern in like shonen manga in general, right? But what a lot of authors struggle with is like the scale is always drastically getting bigger. Kishimoto literally says Naruto and Sasuke have got stronger. The scale has grown to like an even larger like level, right? Now he has to get this new generation involved in those same fights, right? It's also like a narrative thing. It's like power clipping, right? There's no choice but for Boruto and like you know, the younger generation to get involved in these fights and therefore be stronger than like Naruto was in Shippuden, for example, right? It's definitely narratively supported as well if anybody has like intention with that.
Yeah, and also on top of that, characters are just gonna get stronger over time. Obviously, between at the end of Shippuden to Boruto, it's been 16 years. So no matter what, characters are just gonna get exponentially stronger. We see this with like the 5 Kage keeping up with like the likes of Momoshiki and Kinshiki.
Like if you've seen the Boruto like anime or this like section of it, but like it's when Boruto's talking to Onuki and they're talking about like you know, the fabrications that they like built, right? Onuki basically says that like the reason he created them was to actually like replace Boruto's position. He says Boruto's position is basically to fight Otsutsuki. When he's talking about the Otsutsuki, he talks about Kaguya. He literally says, Boruto, you have to train really hard to sustain this certain level to be as strong as like these villains, like all these aliens like Kaguya. So like even Kaguya is brought into the picture when talking about like Boruto. Obviously Boruto is really powerful. It's narratively supported, the feat supported, the power scaling. It is power clipping, unfortunately. I know a lot of people don't like it. It does happen very commonly. I think it happens in Dragon Ball a lot as well. Like Gohan literally goes from like where he was in like Z to like literally what Super Saiyan Blue Goku like is literally in a very short amount of time. It just happens, dude. It's not the greatest like way of writing, but I feel like sometimes writers are forced to do it.
Especially when you try to bring up these characters with Boruto, especially with him trying to surpass Naruto and Sasuke, the narrative is gonna be there eventually. But we don't know if he's stronger than Naruto, like Hokage Naruto. At this point, once we get to see Boruto go all out in his true essence karma form, I think we will have a better idea. But I think at the bare minimum, he's at least scales to somewhere of his father back in Shippuden from the war arc. The fact that he's already there and that he's only 12 years old, he's gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger. And by the time we get to episode 1, I definitely do think Boruto is gonna be like this god tier that might even be comparable to Barry on Bo Naruto. So true essence karma form Boruto, despite us not seeing all of it from the limited feats that were shown, it definitely proves that Boruto at least is in the god tier category. Obviously with him taking these pills, it is counterintuitive with him having the Byakugan, meaning that it's going to nerf his power. He obviously did have a heart attack, so we're probably not gonna see him fight at full power for a while. Just let me know what you think about Boruto's power in the comment section below. I think this is a good basis from what we're at right now. I definitely do think in the future, once we get to see true essence karma go into full action in full power with Boruto utilizing it in the future, we'll have a better idea. So let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Definitely go check out King Bullet's channel. We did a video over there ranking dojutsu. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell as well, and have a good day. Peace.